All right. Welcome everybody to another episode of I can't even fucking talk. Pod Between Worlds. Today we're gonna talk about The Mandalorian Chapter 10. We're gonna go over our reactions, our breakdown, and we're also gonna give some predictions on what we think The Mandalorian is gonna bring us coming in hot.
Da-na-na, da-na-na, I feel like I hum it differently. I feel like that's from like Dragon Quest or Dragon Warrior, like back in the day.
You played Dragon Quest?
Dragon Warrior, like the original one on NES. I think it was considered Dragon Warrior at the time, and then they switched over to Dragon Quest. Yeah.
The first three were Dragon Warrior, and then they changed it to Dragon Quest.
Yeah, I played like hours of. That was one of my favorite games as a kid. Dragon Warrior 1.
Dude, Dragon Quest.
I think I played some of the other ones too, but I remember specifically one.
Well, the first three were part of the same story, and then the other ones have been like one-offs, like they're their own story. But I've actually been playing, and I just bought the DS version. I've been playing a lot of Chrono Trigger. And
I've heard good things about that. Yeah,
fucking love it. It's awesome. It's definitely, if you're like, oh, I just want to play like a DS game or something. It's on Steam too. Actually, I actually have it on PC. That's why I started playing it as. But I guess the DS version, I guess it's the same. But there's like 15 different endings. Like the story's awesome. The
it's like a lot with loot, right? Wasn't that a big items game? Like building your, or is it more?
Well, kind of. It's not as in depth, I guess. But like the whole thing is, it's there's a lot of time travel. Okay. That's like the big thing on it. So so there's that. So picking what party members you're going to use. Like some of the items. Member system.
Yeah. I thought someone said that's where like, because it came out so long ago, that's where like the idea for like looters and then like Diablo came from, like Chrono Trigger or whatever.
Yeah. So it like Chrono Trigger was basically Dragon Quest. It was actually Dragon Quest and the Final Fantasy producers and the artists of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z came together and so they came together, made a game. There was a sequel to it, and then it I'm rambling.
I think there was a remake too. I think they just remade it recently or updated the graphics or something for an emulator.
For an emulator, maybe, but
not like a full remake. But someone redid the graphics or something, and on an emulator or something.
Yeah, there's a ROM out there that they routinely update, but like I'm hoping for a remake because that's a game that like
if that 3, like or whatever you said there were 2.
There's 2, but Chrono Cross was that was the sequel. Yeah, that was on PlayStation, and it wasn't received as well. And they had an idea for a third game, all the same thing, Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, and they kind of just went they did nothing with it. Gotcha. Yeah, so
happens a lot, which is a bummer.
But a lot of your RPG games, a lot of them all derive from like that system. The Final Fantasy VII remake. Exactly, like it was directly influenced the new remake, the real-time turn-based like mix. It came from that game, so it's really cool. I like it.
Sweet. Yeah.
Anyways, this is a Star Wars podcast, not video games, so I guess we'll dive into
Chapter 10, my dude.
Yeah, Chapter 10. So we've talked about this in our conversations via text and stuff, but you know what? I don't know. We should just give our reactions initially, and then
go ahead. And then we'll get. Go? Well, I can go first. I don't care. Yeah, you were talking
go first.
So, all right.
I think I went first last time, so you go.
Yeah, so I think this is another. I mean, we'll know at the end more of the frog lady importance and like the eggs and if that plays a role. But I think this is another one of those episodes that we've seen in season 1 and kind of like episode 1 really, where it's kind of its own little contained adventure. We don't move too far forward in the storyline. I should preface this all. Like we all say this, but we don't move too far forward in the storyline that we think we're getting, right? So
Right.
like the child's not really any closer to getting delivered or whatever, but we are on our way to meet more Mandalorians supposedly. Um, and yeah, so it's its own little adventure, like some of these episodes end up being, much like the first one. And it was good. I mean, I thought it was fun. I thought the New Republic was an interesting addition. I don't know if we're going to get more of that, and that was just kind of like the taste of it, kind of like we did in season one, or if they're going to develop it a little bit more. I thought the call outs were cool to that specific episode. That they basically help him in the end of the episode because he gave them 3 prisoners basically, and he also wasn't really involved with killing Lieutenant Davin or whatever.
Right.
Also, the prison ship was named Bothan 5, which I thought was kind of funny, and Dave Filoni was one of the X-wing pilots, which I thought was cool too. So yeah, and then we get the little battle. So we're definitely not on Ilum. So we scratched that one off. And also I think I can pretty much confirm, because the Razor Crest is banged up, that we are not seeing, well, I shouldn't say we're not seeing, but that the planet from the trailer where the Razor Crest is banged up and kind of floating over the like gas giant.
Yeah.
That's not Endor. That's the sanctuary moon of Trask, and Core Ivan, I think, is what the gas giant's called. So all those are off the table, which I'm fine with. I mean, I like going back to planets if it's necessary, but obviously these weren't. I'd love to see these added to the map to see exactly where they are, because apparently they're close to Tatooine, system-wise. So it'd be neat to see what else is in that system, if there's any other specific planets like close by. I know Tatooine's near Geonosis and stuff on the new maps. I know stuff's changed a little bit, but so that was cool. And then we got, I noticed it right away, the ice spiders, which were from a Ralph McQuarrie design way back in the day. They were originally designed for Dagobah. Not that they can't have some distant relative type spider on Dagobah too, but they were pulled pretty much directly from that picture. So that was neat. Definitely gave me the heebie-jeebies, and I'm not a spider guy. So that's not my favorite, but in a good way. It creeped me out. You know what I mean? That was, and we got some funny little, I thought the whole Baby Yoda thing was funny. I guess it stirred up some craziness on Twitter about him eating the eggs, but I think it's more of like a Spawn situation where they have like 100. People were just pissed that he was eating the eggs, and it was like no big deal. That it was like this lady's last spawn of eggs, and he was like chowing down on them because they want Baby Yoda to be innocent and everything like that. But it's just, that's part of his innocence, is that he's looking for food, right?
It's like a little kid that eats something he's not supposed to, or like a dog that eats something.
I just think it was more because they made a big deal of it being her last eggs and stuff. But anyways. So overall, I thought it was good. I think if I compared them, I think I liked episode 1 better than this one. But this, to me, certainly wasn't like a bad episode. It just, again, I think like I told you a little bit, and we'll probably get into it a little bit. For me, it's just, I think these episodes play, like when I rewatched season 1, a lot of the episodes that I was like, man, we didn't really get more to the plot that I want. It was still plot and character building, but it wasn't like what I wanted necessarily at the time. During it, because it's week to week, you know what I mean? When I went back and watched the season, it actually works fine. So I'm just kind of holding my judgment, you know what I mean? I enjoyed the episode. Obviously, I want Bo-Katan and Ahsoka, and I want all these things to happen, but they're not going to happen right away. You know what I mean? We need to build up to it. So I do feel a little bit of that frustration that I think people felt with this episode, that that it just didn't move a ton of stuff forward. So I get it, but I think some people are a little bit too clouded by that stuff, and it takes away from what otherwise is a fine episode, and I'll judge it fully once the full season is out, and we'll see. So yeah, I enjoyed it, but I'm certainly looking forward to getting on to the major storylines, if you know what I mean. How'd you feel about it?
I mean, I liked the episode. I liked certain aspects of it. Visually, obviously, it's friggin' fantastic.
They're killing it. Everything. Yep.
Yeah, it's just like, I guess I'll consider this one of my least favorite episodes. It still visually looks amazing. So I think they're absolutely killing it with that. I like Dave Filoni being in it, which is really cool.
Cool little sky fight too. The Razor Crest move where he like shuts off the engines and falls. That was neat. It looks really practical. It doesn't look super CGI'd. You know what I mean? In those moments, which I don't necessarily know how much is CGI and how much is practical, but it looks good. It doesn't look cheesy. You know, where space flights can look cheesy real fast.
Yeah, exactly. So you can kind of tell that. So that's I really like that a lot. Let's see what else, and then obviously it was cute to see like Baby Yoda had more of a prominent role, I guess, in this episode more than the last episode, where he kind of took a little bit of a backseat because it was more like Cobb Vanth and like the Crate Dragon and everything like that. So it was kind of cool to see Baby Yoda like having more of that. Didn't really care for the Frog Lady. I know she's probably going to be. It's now looking like she might be more of a character later on. We could talk about that in predictions, but
maybe she could just be the vehicle to get him to the Mandalorians. Yeah.
But, I mean, judging by just what Star Wars, like they posted that poster of her, and that kind of was like, all right, so maybe
there's more to it. Yeah,
more to it. But, I guess we've talked about this at length. I actually feel that this is a complete filler episode, which it's a little bit concerning to me, just because. I mean, again, we don't have the whole season, so like you're saying, it could be that this was integral to where they're going. But at the same time, to me, it just doesn't feel. It doesn't feel like there's much there. And I know that there's a lot of people.
Not alone. A lot of people felt that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. So the big thing to me is that you only have 8 episodes. So if this episode is kind of, I don't want to say it's a throwaway episode because it's not a throwaway episode, but a filler episode. It concerns me a little bit just because season 1 had a couple episodes that you can consider like this. Like, yeah, from our perspective, from like a canon perspective, and from like that we're just Star Wars nerds, you more so than me, that we see things that we're like, oh, this is a cool throwback. This is cool here. They're like, we see those things. I think from someone that's just a casual fan, and even just talking with some of my friends, our friends and stuff, they didn't see the same things that we see. So then they look at the episode completely different. So then from that viewpoint, it seems more of a filler episode in terms of like plot, character development. I mean, I think this episode had very poor character development, in my opinion. I mean, you didn't really see much. You saw some interactions, but that was it. You don't really get much from it. And that's kind of where I'm a little bit concerned, because I'm hoping that this is kind of just the one episode that they kind of get out of the way. That's like, it's kind of like an in-betweener. And then we get into more in-depth, like now, like, say like Sasha Banks is in the next episode, or like we start to see more of the plot come together. Because the trailer to me looked like the trailer was like,
it was also maybe 90% like the first couple episodes, which is interesting. Like, I feel like we haven't seen anything from like episode 5 on.
Right. So, but like the trailer was kind of projected as like, okay, there's definitely more plot. There's definitely a storyline that's more prevalent. And
took a while to get there in season 1. Yeah.
Yeah. It took a while to get, and I think a lot of people had issues with that. I didn't necessarily have an issue then. I was kind of like holding out, just being like, all right, it's probably part of what's going on. We're gonna get there at some point. But even in season 1, I was raising concerns. I was like, they got to do something. The plot's got to come together at some point, because you're gonna start losing people. And this is kind of feeling the same way, where I'm like, fun episode, looks great. You know, Baby Yoda's cool. Spider stuff, I hate spiders. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I don't want to see that shit. But like, anyways,
but that's when it's done well, right? Like, yeah, right. Yeah. They looked good.
Like, it looked good. It looked
creepy
creepy as hell. But like, they need to. I shouldn't say they need. I hope that the rest of the season kind of makes up for that, and I think that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm a little disappointed that they went in this direction. I was kind of hoping that they would have a little bit more, especially in with the amount of episodes that they have, because it's just, when you compare it to like a TV show that has 20, 25 episodes, filler episodes are kind of like, all right, the creator wants to do like some fun ass episode and just like do something completely random, and then they do it. But sometimes those filler episodes have more character development, so it kind of does fill the gap. In this case, I feel like it's kind of a negative just because it's not giving you that character development with how many episodes you have. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that about your friends, because I've had the exact opposite reaction, which I was surprised, because I thought like people like my wife who are into it but aren't like Star Wars canon people, they're just watching for entertainment. And a couple of our friends that were in like some of our text messages actually specifically told me that they loved the episode. And I was actually surprised by that, because I would think the further away you are, the less you would think. But I think what happens is there's this like middle ground. So you have like canon and like super fans like us that are, you know, I mean, we have a podcast, so we're going to discuss every little bit. You know, overall, we like most Star Wars, you know what I mean? But we're going to just dissect it. I think there's people like us who enjoyed it, but also are looking forward to it going. Then there's this like middle section of people who are relatively aware of what's going on in Star Wars. I think they're the people it didn't land with, because they're the people that know just enough to know like, oh, we may get Ahsoka. We may get Bo-Katan, if they even know that name. They know a few, but not all of them, but they're excited about where the show's going, right? Whereas the people I've talked to don't even know that stuff. They're just like they just like Star Wars as entertainment. It'd be like me watching Star Trek kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, and they weren't bothered at all, because to them, they're not like, oh, I need Ahsoka. Oh, I need this thing. They're just along for the ride, almost innocently. You know what I mean? And so this didn't feel like a sidestep to them. They felt like this is bringing them along. So it's interesting to see who felt what way about it. But yeah, Twitter, most of the people I follow on Twitter are like in that zone of being pretty big fans. You know what I mean? Yeah. So a lot of them thought it was kind of that more fillery stuff. But
everyone I talked to, they all didn't like it for one reason or another, but a lot of them felt like it was filler. It wasn't like so they were more of what you're saying in terms of the middle ground, but even a couple of them aren't even big fans, and they were kind of just like, where's this going? It doesn't.
Gotcha. Yeah, I had the exact opposite reaction from people who aren't in that middle ground, from people who are just watching it for entertainment. They all across the board, I think I talked to 4 or 5. I'm trying to think of they all thought it was really good, which again surprised me. I thought they would be like you're saying, like kind of like, are we moving forward? Or, you know, they were like, they just entertained by like the action. You know what I mean? Because I don't think they know what's coming. Whereas we're like trying to predict what's coming. So when it doesn't come in an episode, we're like, oh, are we going to get there? Whereas they're just along for the ride. So they're like, yeah, all right, he's going. And they crashed on a nice planet. You know what I mean? So it's less of like they're just kind of following along as it goes. So,
well, one of the things too that when it comes to like what we're expecting though, like, so at least me personally, I don't expect every episode to have like an Ahsoka reveal or like or Boba Fett reveal or something like that. But like from a plot standpoint, I would almost feel like maybe there'd be a little bit more there, or maybe just some more character development. I'm just having a little bit of a hard time with it. That's just me, because Mando, you're only gonna get so much out of him. I feel like the first season did a lot better job, at least. I mean, the first episode did have a lot of flashbacks with Cobb Vanth, and that was a big thing and everything. And maybe I'm being a little bit too critical of the second episode, but.
Well, I think people are more. I think it's just kind of one of those things where you look at it as a whole. Like, there's just as much about Frog Lady as there is about Cobb Vanth. It's in an interesting way. She's just less interesting to most people. Like Cobb Vanth may play no role as well, so it's more of just a preference thing, I think. The one thing I did notice that you're saying though with like different movie things, you know what they don't do a lot, which would be interesting, because I'm thinking of the first episode and then where I think we're going in the third episode. They don't really do cliffhangers, right? Like they did it at the end of the season last year, but like most of the episodes are very self-contained, where you're like, okay, he completed this and we're going here. So hear me out. In episode 1, had they ended it instead of with Boba, I mean, the Boba Fett, I guess you could say, is like a cliffhanger. I think that's more like a fan service thing.
I would say it's a cliffhanger.
But imagine if you ended it more with like right when the guys were setting up the trap, right? And then you end it and you're like, oh shit, what's going to happen? Whereas like this episode, if we are going, if the next episode is the one that I think it is, where the frog lady meets her husband and they go and they may see Sasha Banks's character. What if like this episode actually went another 15 minutes longer? They get to Trask, right, on the injured thing. They meet the husband, and then, and I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm just saying, like, then they, like, go to meet Sasha Banks' character, and she does that disappearing thing. And then that's the end of the episode. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a lot of, like, tie over. They don't do, and not that I'm complaining. A lot of shows do that. Every episode, it's like, oh, shit, what's happening next? You know what I mean?
Well, like, one show I recently Brent and I just binged through was... Cobra Kai.
Okay.
Every single episode has a cliffhanger.
Yeah, I feel like that's like a common thing, episode. Right?
And you're like, shit, do I want to watch another one? Mandalorian doesn't do that.
Even the Boba isn't that. Like, that's more of a long-term cliffhanger. That's not, we knew we weren't going to get something in the next episode. Like, you know what I mean? So that's a different...
We might not think that. Well, we might not think that, but like from a common... Like
maybe someone's like, who's that? Yeah, I get it. Okay, yeah.
Kind of like, why
but this
are we
episode,
going...
there was no cliffhanger. They're just like floating, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really do anything. It's just kind of like, all right, that's the episode. But like season 1 was the same way. The only cliffhanger you really got wasn't
7,
really
8, right? The Baby Yoda thing, where you got like knocked off the speeder.
Not even really 8, more 7.
7 in between 7, right? When Queel dies, you see Queel dead, and you don't know the Baby Yoda. Yeah, that's like that would be what I would think would be like every episode almost. You know what I mean? It
should be like that, yeah, because then that would leave everybody being like, "Oh next? Shit!"
Right, which may get you over the fillery thing or the episodes that feel like that. If it ends in a way that you're like, "Oh shit, what's happening next?" It almost like gets rid of that feeling. Maybe, I don't know. Like I'm being super picky with that. Like I don't feel that way. I was just thinking of it in my head, and I'm like, wow, every other show always has like literally every episode has like what's gonna happen next? You know what I mean? And I feel like not a lot of these episodes do. It just ends. It's like, okay, we completed the plot for the episode, you know?
Well, I think that's and maybe that's probably why I'm getting a little bit critical now, is because like you're saying,
that's just
like
what they do. I think that's the style of the show.
No, but like you go on any Netflix series,
I know,
for the most part, or even
it's more like a sitcom in a weird way.
Yeah, it's like if you have like 20 or 25, like Rebels, for instance. Even Rebels had cliffhangers.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, but Rebels had filler episodes, and there's a little bit of a difference. But okay, Big Bang Theory, for instance, because we were just talking about that. Big Bang Theory doesn't really have cliffhangers. It's just
like Friends didn't really have it's just kind of like it's a plot for the show and everything moves forward, but the show is its own thing. That's what a lot of these episodes feel like.
Yeah, and
Game of Thrones had a ton of cliffhangers, right? Like every fucking episode
every week
was like,
it's like what's gonna happen.
Of course, they kill everybody too. So like...
Yeah, but like it's like every week it's like who's gonna survive, who's gonna live, what, and then you see the previews and you're that's another thing they don't do. They don't do any like previews, so you have no friggin' clue what's going on.
Little TV spots that add stuff, but it's not really anything. It's not like next week. It's just kind of like a hidden scene in there or something.
All right, so if they did that.
Let's get moving into theories, because this is kind of like a good segue into like, so where do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first? Like, where do you think we're going? What do we have? We have 5 episodes. We're confirmed for 8 episodes.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, we have 5 more episodes. 6 more episodes.
Oh right, yeah. Because this week's 3.
Yeah, so I think. So. After seeing where they're going with that, so I think he's going to get to at least the 3rd episode. I think he's going to get to that planet. They're going to, the frog lady's going to, I think the frog lady's going to go on her way.
Okay.
I think that's when we're going to see the Sasha Banks. I'm sure you're probably going to say the same thing.
The reveal, yeah.
But I think what's going to happen is it's going to go from, all right, I'm seeking Mandalorians to now, what happened to the Mandalorians? Because then I think that's where the Jedi are going to start to get involved.
Okay.
Or supposedly. So like that's where I think like you're going to find maybe that's where the Ahsoka thing kind of comes into play, is that something happened to the Mandalorians, because I have a feeling it's going to be too easy for him to just get to this planet and they're just Mandalorians. I think it's going to be like, there's going to be more to it, just based on, Night of a Thousand Tears, and just like, was it episode, was it 7 or 8, when he goes back to the armor and you see all the helmets and stuff.
Yeah. I forgot about that when we were talking about that the other day, if they got away or whatever.
Yeah, well, I think some of them did, but I think most of them got slaughtered.
Well,
so,
yeah.
So because of that, I'm thinking it just seems too easy. It, like, just go to this water plant, all of a sudden there's Mandalorians. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Or there's Mandalorians there, and then they're like, oh, well, we trust the Jedi. The Jedi have to come into play somewhere, and I think this episode might push us in that direction.
Gotcha.
That's the only thing I got. I think we're definitely going to see Sasha Banks, though. That's my prediction.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure you got something completely different. And
no, like it's similar. I heard this theory. Okay, this is usually what happens. I usually piece together like 7 different Reddit posts that I see like people commenting on, right? But I did like the main theory of this one was I don't want to like identify it, but basically it's like, I thought it was very clean because I hadn't put, what I was struggling with was almost everything I saw in the trailer was all reversed. Like, I thought the ice planet was later. I thought that was going to be Ilum. There was a chance. So I thought he was going to I thought he was going to meet the frog lady on Trask, right? And then they were going to have to do something and go to the ice planet. So everything's kind of backwards now. You know what I mean? Because that all happens before. But this one was pretty well organized. So imagine that they go basically to Trask, okay? Frog Lady meets the husband puts him in contact with his Mandalorian contact, okay? Which is going to be, which could be Sasha Banks, right? The theory basically goes, doesn't really matter if it's Sabine or it could be a Night Owl, which was the group that Bo-Katan was from, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And this fits really nicely into especially the trailer because we've got everything from early in the season, right? So what's the main part of the trailers that we haven't seen yet is back on what we think is Navarro, right? With Grief Karga and Cara Dune and going to that Imperial kind of holdout thing, right? Like those scenes. So
which I think they're going to come in episode 4. Because
so that's what this
the director.
Oh, okay. Yep. And so the interesting thing where this also times up with is that episode 5 is Filoni's episode, where a lot of people think we're going to see Ahsoka. So basically, the simple part of the Ahsoka thing is not part of the theory. The simple part of the theory, which I really like and makes a ton of sense to me, is like, okay, you meet Sasha Banks. If she's Sabine, cool. If she's a Night Owl, cool. But she is the Mandalorian contact, okay?
Yeah.
She basically is going, I probably can help you, but what we need Bo-Katan. And Bo-Katan is imprisoned by Gideon. He's holding her from the Night of a Thousand Tears. There's this whole other thing that a different post had. I think that they think she's frozen in carbonite, just like the Mithril, because we see him come back from season 1 when they're driving the prisoner transport. Yeah. Right. Cool if that plays into it. Neat. I don't think that's a major plot point, the carbonite thing, but the Bo-Katan thing makes a ton of sense. So basically he meets Sasha Banks, whoever that character is, right? She goes, I think we can help you, but Bo-Katan's the one that can help you. We got to get her out. And she explains kind of the history if he doesn't know Bo-Katan. That should be an interesting thing to see what history he has of the Mandalorian people. Because I think that's going to be a big part of it. I think his version of the Mandalorians and their history is actually super truncated and specifically geared from the Death Watch raising these kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think he has a complete understanding. That's just a guess of mine. So they basically go, okay, she's imprisoned by Moff Gideon. He goes, oh shit, I know Moff Gideon. You know what I mean? And then basically so that's basically the episode. And then episode 4 is the Carl Weathers episode. They go back to Navarro. They basically get the help of Cara Dune and Carl Weathers, right? They attack the Imperial outpost or whatever that is on Navarro. They steal back Bo-Katan. That's why we get that Mithril guy again. Maybe they just take like a bunch of, like, they're all in the same prison transport or some shit. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They steal it.
Whoa,
And then
where's the myth? Why is he involved again?
he pops his head into the preview of when they're driving the prison transport
Oh,
away.
yeah, that's right.
So,
That's right.
okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah, the blue
we're
head
just
guy,
assuming
yeah.
like it's part of it or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe he was a guild thing, right? So like maybe they unfreeze him because they need some help. I don't know. Who the fuck knows? Anyways, but the basic theory is that Bo-Katan is held by Gideon, so that's what really brings Gideon back into the mix. Is that they go and basically steal Bo-Katan from Gideon. I think it's interesting. I think it makes sense that Bo-Katan would be with Gideon, right? That's how he has the Darksaber, the Night of 1,000 Tears. He takes her, keeps her alive for whatever reason, prisoner, like torture her, who knows, right? Now that makes sense that she'd be, I don't know why it makes sense that she's on Navarro. Maybe she's just with Gideon, so it's on like a Star Destroyer or something. But that makes sense why we go back to Navarro with Cara Dune and Grief, right?
Yeah.
It connects with the prisoner, it connects like all the dots, and it gets pretty much everything we've seen in the trailers completely gone by episode 4. So we literally have not seen anything from the last 4 episodes. And then episode 5, you basically, Bo-Katan starts to tell them about like whatever. She needs the Darksaber back to bring back Mandalore, blah, 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 blah. And maybe that's when she helps. And this is where Sabine could come in, because that would make sense if Sasha's Sabine, because she would have more of a relationship with Ahsoka, right? And that's where they bring Ahsoka in to help deal with Gideon, because maybe we find out he's force sensitive or something. Obviously, Bo-Katan, if she is his prisoner, is going to know a lot more about him, right? So maybe she sheds some light on him. And then we kind of do this thing where, like, now the mission becomes getting the Darksaber back and starting to put together Mandalore again, and Ahsoka helps Sabine with that kind of deal. You know, that's why she's involved. And at the end of it all, so this would be like this is what I'm adding on. Basically the theory ends with Bo-Katan. Okay, I'm adding the Ahsoka thing, and I'm saying I think that may be the season. Is that basically Ahsoka then joins up with them to get the Darksaber back to kind of reestablish some kind of Mandalore thing, right? And then the agreement kind of is once we get that done, Ahsoka will help with the Baby Yoda, maybe even take the Baby Yoda. And that's where your Jedi thing gets pulled in, right? Barring the extra stuff, the full season stuff, I shouldn't have gone that far. How do you feel? Because it's not my theory. I heard it. I just think it's so clean. The Bo-Katan, again, the pieces aren't exact, right? It doesn't necessarily need to be Sabine. It can be a random Mandalorian. The Night Owl thing fits well. But basically that he's going to go, that the Mandalorian he finds, most likely Sasha Banks, but it could be someone else too, is going to lead him back to hopefully rescue Bo-Katan from Gideon. I think that's super clean. It makes sense from the trailer episodes and stuff. And it can move, I think it can move this forward and give him a ton of Mandalorian background. Because if we're talking about rebuilding Mandalore and the Mandalorians, I mean, Bo-Katan's where it starts, right? If she's still alive. I mean, that's the perfect place.
Yeah, that's true.
Or maybe it's Fen Rao.
Oh, good God.
And it throws everybody on their head.
But
I think that makes so much sense now that I'm putting it together with the Night of 1,000 Tears, why Gideon has the Darksaber. It literally answers so many questions like that, right? And it's super simple.
He does mention in his interviews that there are saber battles.
Well, that's where I think they get Ahsoka, because Bo-Katan tells... I think that's my part of the theory, is that Bo-Katan has a lot of information on Gideon at this point. Because she was his prisoner, she was there at the Night of 1,000 Tears, you know, like all that kind of stuff. So I think, or the Purge, the Night of 1,000 Tears, I get these all mixed up now. I haven't watched it in a while. But basically, I think maybe that's what leads Sabine to bringing Ahsoka in, if that's the case. Because maybe, like if I'm saying, Gideon's like maybe slightly force sensitive, he's working directly with Palpatine. Like she knows some of this stuff, and maybe that's where we get some background on Gideon. And that's where Ahsoka comes in to help, right?
Yeah.
And then you get your saber battles.
Makes
Giancarlo Esposito versus Rosario Dawson. She better dual wield, dude. I'll freak out if she doesn't dual wield.
Oh my God, I'll be so pissed.
And if she doesn't have the white lightsabers too, I'll be pissed. These are like small details, but if she has fucking blue lightsabers, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Well, it would be a huge,
but
it would be a huge disappointment from canon. Because
I mean, it was a long time ago. She could have made new light. Who knows? But yeah, I would be pissed. I need the double white lightsabers. That's Ahsoka to me.
Yeah, I would have a hard time with it too, because it's just like
the reason he
I
changed
know that
the blue
they'll
ones
say
was different too. Yeah, that's a whole different thing. But
no, I know, but like they say like, oh yeah, the TV shows and the movies and they're canon per se, like over the books, like because of that issue. But like that still would bother me because okay, now it's not just one time, now it's 2 times. So it's like,
well, and also he made the white lightsabers in Rebels too.
right. So it's
like,
kind of like, what the fuck are you
I'm
doing?
complaining about something that hasn't happened yet. So like, it's probably will happen exactly like that, and we'll be good to go. But that will be, if you want to know what's going on in my fucking super nerd brain when she appears, she better have those fucking white lightsabers. That's what's going on in my head.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's the small. I mean,
and I'll be proven wrong. She'll fucking have made a new double-bladed lightsaber with a yellow lightsaber, like, and I'll be fine with that. But like, it better not be like some weird. I don't know. I'll make my opinion.
I think from, I guess my perspective is when it comes to canon, it's just like, it's all or nothing to me. If you're gonna,
this would be, you would have to rewrite it. It's not in a time we've seen. She could definitely have no lightsaber. She could have thrown them away, but then you have to write it that in, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's but like,
this wouldn't be retconning, but no, you would have to come up with a reason later.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like, what side story? Like, do you have to do another book? Like,
maybe that's what they want. Maybe they add that stuff in so that there is more content. But I don't know. Filoni went with the white lightsabers in Rebels, so he has put those in. So I have faith that unless they want some total different direction. Too. Right. I think that was where it originally came from. I'm just saying he's involved with this, and he specifically made them white in Rebels when if he wanted to ignore that part of it, he could have. You know what I mean? So he didn't. So I would assume he wouldn't in this case. And if it's different, there's got to be a reason. Maybe she doesn't use lightsabers anymore. But he said we'd get a lightsaber battle, right?
So where does Boba Fett fit in all of this?
I think that maybe, in my theory, I think that's later. I think that's once they rescue Bo-Katan and stuff. There may be a thing. I don't know.
See, that's the part.
Because I don't know that we still have it in canon. Like, George Lucas didn't want them to be Mandalorians, but technically in canon, it really hasn't been. It's just been mentioned by Almec, right? Who said he's not a Mandalorian. I think there was also mention that Boba got his Mandalorian armor by killing a Mandalorian. Like, I don't even know if that's canon. There's so much weird mix of legends and stuff with him that, like, I don't know what they're gonna do. He may just he may not be a Mandalorian, or he may be like a lost child of Mandalore. You know what I mean, kind of thing. I don't. You know, they may accept him, they may not. I don't know what they're gonna do with him. He's interesting because he's not like an ironclad Mandalorian. And even if he was technically a Mandalorian, like his dad was, that was legit. He still didn't grow up on Mandalore and didn't like. He's not part of that culture. You know what I mean? He just wore the armor. He's a bounty hunter. Yeah. You know what I mean? Now, could they accept him back? Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they could. I'm just saying, like, it's not like he was a Mandalorian warrior for years and then became a bounty hunter. He never was a like a true Mandalorian. Right. You know what I mean? So, like, we know that. We just don't know if his dad actually was a Mandalorian. So technically, and Mandalore is this confusing thing. We've talked about it. It's not really like a race. It's kind of just like an area you grow. It'd be like being like a Rhode Islander. Yeah. You know, it's kind of like it's where you grew up. There's like a culture to it. Like people recognize it. You know what I mean? But like, it's not, I don't know.
It's not a race.
You don't necessarily inherit it. If like I moved somewhere with our wife and raised a kid in Montana, like, yeah, he'd get some Rhode Island influence because we're from here. You know what I mean? But like, it's not like you would consider him a Rhode Island. I don't know. I'm just trying to make real world. It's weird. It's Boba is a complicated case, no matter how you put it, right? Yeah. He is not Bo-Katan. You know, he's not Sabine. They weren't. No. He wasn't raised there and left, right? Right. So he's an interesting case. I don't know. I mean, I figure they do something with him, but who knows? If they're gonna do a sideshow, maybe they literally just like make him appear and then he doesn't even fucking come back. I don't know. Like, I know people will probably be weird about that, but I don't know how he fits in. Maybe it's too much effort to weave him back in. So let the show do that. I just find it weird. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like, I know the rumors, they're saying there's rumors that, you know, there's going to be a Boba Fett miniseries or series. Right. And maybe that answers questions in between season 3 and 4 or something. I don't know. Maybe. I don't, it's weird. I don't know how it doesn't make sense. But he is, I think I mean, I'd be fine with it being like that, but like, he seems to be more integral because
He's
we're pretty sure he's the one that showed up with Fennec Shan, right? So they showed him in season 1, if that's correct, and then they show him fully in season 2. So it seems like it's more than just like a he's still alive. But I just don't. If he's been on Tatooine that long, right?
Like, why?
He hasn't approached Cobb Vanth, so he didn't take his armor back, and he had fucking years to do it, right? He's just roaming the desert, but he's keeping an eye on Din because he also has Mandalorian armor. But if he's not really a Mandalorian, why does he fucking care? Like, yeah. I mean, I'm sure they have a plan. Don't get me wrong. I don't know where it comes. This one really confuses me. I literally don't know what you do with him.
Yeah, but how long? You don't know how long Cobb Vanth has that armor for.
It seems like it's been a while because he takes over Freetown, and then there's the whole Borgo the Hutt thing, and like they get attacked by the Red Key Raiders again, and now it seems like this show takes place after that. So
right, but it's only a couple of years, 2 or 3 years.
Well, it's 5 years after Return of the Jedi. We see him in the cantina when the second Death Star blows up. They immediately get attacked by the Red Key Raiders or the Red Mining, whatever. Like in the book, I don't know if they kept
the miners, whatever.
And then he travels the desert, but that can't be long because he says he didn't go anywhere in between. He just like wandered the desert, gets picked up by the Jawas, right?
Yep.
He gets the armor, so that's all within a couple days of Return of the Jedi. And then in the book, if you follow that, he basically goes right back to Freetown and starts the town. And then there's a whole series of they come back and attack again, and he holds them off. There's a whole another thing, too, if you want to get into it later, with like the Tusken Raiders help him out. He actually makes a deal with the Tusken Raiders, so that confused me, too, because he seems to not be into the Tusken Raiders in the show, so I think they kind of ignored that. So I would say he's had the armor. He's had the armor for 5 years. Yeah, I don't know where it fits. I didn't want to get into it because in the book they specifically help him. Yeah. But I think that's directly related to Borgo the Hutt, the little Huttling that he has. Yeah. That the Hutt like screams and they come to help, and it was like kind of this deal because they liked him more than the miners, but then in the show he's at odds with them. So I mean, it's not impossible for that to flip. It seems not perfectly lined up. You know what I mean? Yeah. But at the very least, we basically know he's had Boba's armor for roughly 5 years. So Boba's been roaming the desert for 5 years, unless, I don't know, Jawas picked him up. Which actually, that's actually super interesting, right? I should go back and do a timeline. We won't get into it tonight. But actually, now that I'm thinking of it, that's really interesting because Boba dies in Return of the Jedi. Oh, sorry. Boba gets plopped into the Sarlacc pit in Return of the Jedi, okay? Yeah. What is the time? How long does Return of the Jedi take place? Like the actual movie, like over a couple days, right? Isn't it quick?
Yeah, it's only a few days. I don't think it's
so.
Long.
Basically, he goes into the Sarlacc pit. Okay, so hear me out. He goes into the Sarlacc pit. Let's say it's 2 days later. Okay, the fucking Death Star blows up, right? Yeah. Cobb Vanth sees that on the recording thing. Now you could argue maybe that took a couple days to get there, but let's just not try to add complicated shit, right? They see the news feed of the Death Star 2 blowing up, right? And then 2 days later, he has his armor. So Boba got out like in a fucking day.
Yeah, but you don't know if he got out. Maybe the armor just somehow got out.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm trying not to go too far with like coming up with shit. If the armor got out, he probably got out. Like, I'm just trying to simplify it, right? But that makes more sense why he's alive, because he was only in there for a fucking day. And then the dragon came and ate the Sarlacc. That's my theory, right? And so like he literally maybe was only in there for like a day or two. I mean, it probably fucked him up. Look at his face, but like, yeah, still, that's interesting to me. I hadn't put that together. It's not like he was in there for years. You know what I mean? Right. Yeah. I mean, again, you can write a million, like you're saying, you can write a million things. Maybe it spit his armor out and he was still in there, but I would figure you'd probably die at that point. But like, that's interesting because they do give you that exact timeline, right? You see again, without any like crazy theories of like, oh, it took 7 weeks for that footage to get to Tatooine. Like, we don't know that shit. But basically they go, okay, Death Star 2 blows up. Cobb Vanth sees it. He gets kicked out of the town by the miners. He goes rumbling through the desert and he basically passes right before he's about to pass out. So that only can be like a couple days, right? Without water. Right before he's about to pass out, he finds the Jawas. When he's on the Jawas thing, he finds the armor. So if we're not getting crazy, that's like safely within a week of the Death Star blowing up, he already has the armor.
Yeah, I
It's
don't know.
interesting. I thought it seemed like it was much later. So that's an interesting timeline thing. I wonder if they've even thought of that.
Probably. They probably have it all together. You just don't know it yet.
Maybe that's one of the things they don't think of.
I don't know. I mean, like, it's just
interesting.
I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, so Boba Fett, no idea how he's gonna fit in this season.
I don't know how you weave him back in.
No clue. Well, Cobb Vanth too. Like I have a feeling we're gonna see him again, but what?
You're definitely gonna see him again. Maybe in another season. He specifically says, "I hope you see it." Like I feel like they played that. Yeah.
Yeah. It just
why are we going back to Tatooine?
Or maybe it's something where
Boba Fett goes, something.
Yeah, attacks the village. Why he
gets called back. Yeah.
Yep. Could be something like that because, I mean, Tatooine's kind of the center of everything, so it's kind of. Yeah. It kind of makes sense. I don't know. It'd be. I mean, that's the only way I could probably see it. Is they're like, who's this fucking madman trying to attack me?
It is.
Could be like, you had my armor or something. Like he kind of already knew, or something like that. It would be interesting.
I'm almost more interested in what they do. Like, who is Boba? What I mean by that is like the whole Mandalorian. How does he come back into Mandalorian? What is his because if they bring him into this, we're gonna have to find out like his relationship, maybe even Jango's relationship with actual Mandalore, right? Like, what, was it all fake or was it just like they were on? Well,
not even just Mandalore, just Din in general. It's gonna be like, how do you react to another Mandalorian?
Like
are you gonna be like?
But that's what I'm saying. If he's not another Mandalorian, why does he care about Din?
I mean, we don't.
Maybe he has a vendetta against Mandalorians.
I mean, we don't know. I mean, we only got glimpses of him in like Empire and New Hope and Return, so we don't really know if he went. He could have gone to Mandalore, and we just we don't have that info.
Yeah, no. His backstory is not filled.
It's not fleshed out. Yeah.
Basically,
I mean, Legends like it is, but
we have like 11-year-old him or 12-year-old him. I think is the last time we see him in like Clone Wars and some of the comics. And then we have him in A New Hope.
Yeah, there's no comics like after, like there's no comics in between A New Hope and.
Oh, okay. We saw him in Clone Wars with his little bounty hunter group, and then he's in that I remember.
He's in the Vader comics, but it's like specifically related to Skywalker. It's not related like Luke.
But he's older at that point, right? It's closer to A New Hope. Yeah. Because that's when he attacks him on. New Hope. Oh, after right when he goes back to Ben's to get his Ben's journal, right?
Yep.
I think I read that one. Yep. Yeah, so that's in that same timeline that we have from the movies. Like you're right. There's nothing that I know of between basically the end of Clone Wars and A New Hope. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have no clue. No clue if he went back to Mandalore.
That's for sure.
But if what's his face mentioned like, oh yeah, Boba Fett's not real Mandalorian or whatever.
Jango. But again, he was with the pacifist movement at that point, so they weren't really fans of Death Watch. So that could have been more of like he's not a real Mandalorian. We don't have warriors. You know what I mean?
Right, but I'm just saying that they actually knew the existence though.
Of Jango. Yeah. Well, because I think he gets brought up because he's like the most notorious bounty hunter in the galaxy at that point, and he wears Mandalorian armor. So Almac's going like, nah, he's not us, because I don't think they want that on their. That's how I read it. Like they're going, nah, he's not one of us, because they don't want the most famous bounty hunter when they're trying to move to like a pacifist regime. They're like, nah, he's not. He's not one of us, but he very well could be. That's my point. Like, you know what I mean?
We don't know,
right? Because they don't want Death Watch either. So,
right.
All right. Any final closing thoughts?
Nope. No,
right. I think we covered a lot.
I'm just looking forward to Friday and hoping that
gonna be good. Yeah.
Yeah, hoping we get some cannon bombs, I guess.
Sasha Banks, baby.
That's all I'm hoping for. If we kind of get, if she's Sabine, awesome. I think she's a good fit for her. I mean, she looks the part. At least that's what I thought. We didn't see the hair or anything yet, but I mean, who knows? It'll be cool. It'll be cool to see if that's truly Sabine. So
yeah.
But yeah, a lot to look forward to.
Cool. All right. Well, then we will
right.
see you guys next time. Check out the podcast.
Yep.
What are we on, Steve? All the
We're on
Spotify, Google,
iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, all that good stuff.
Cool.
We're also on YouTube. We put all our videos on YouTube, and obviously we're on Twitch right now. But yeah, you can catch all our YouTube videos and podcasts after the fact. And we're doing a review. Ollie's been doing reaction and breakdowns of each Mandalorian episode as he watches it for the first time. So it's kind of like a first glimpse into like the episodes. So definitely check those out on YouTube if you haven't checked those out. Other than that, I think that's it. Catch you later, Podawans.
Later.